Brett. You know what you got here, right?
No.
He's hauling these people for money.
Welcome back to Advocacy Alchemy with Professor Ross. Today we have a good one, guys. A simple traffic stop on a Maryland highway turns into a cross-country mystery. 8 passengers packed into a SUV/van, a driver with a suspended license, and a destination that keeps changing the more questions that are asked. He says he's coming from St. Louis. At first, you might think that's St. Louis, Arizona, a border town with immigration implications. But by the end of the stop, it's clear he's likely talking about St. Louis, Missouri. Now mix in Houston, Nashville, Baltimore, and what you get is a strong, rolling contradiction with some possible criminal consequences. Is this just a disorganized construction crew that's on the road? Or is it something more? Maybe even unauthorized transport for profit? With that, let's jump in.
How are you?
Good, and you?
All right.
Everything good?
You got a bunch of people in here, don't you?
It's 1 for seat. Yes. Go back to work.
Gotcha. Where are you working at?
Where?
Where?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Missouri?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm from Maryland.
Okay. Now the reason I stopped you, we was running 75 down through here.
75?
Yeah. Of course, this is 65 through here.
I know. I'm going to 70.
Going 70?
Yeah. What's the limit right now? Is 70 or 65?
It's 65.
I can see it, sir.
You got all your info.
I see the other the speed limit. I see the 70.
Yeah, it jumps up and down.
My bad. Yeah, my bad. You need my license?
Yeah, your driver's license, your registration, and your proof of insurance.
Oh my God. Okay, sure.
The what?
The problem with my license right now is expired, right?
It's suspended?
Suspended because I have my permanent employment, so like 2 years experience. So I need. So right now I waiting the paper for migration. For I go to the MBA. So you know. That car no is mine, so it's to my boss.
So where do y'all live at?
Where I living? I live in Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah, Oxon.
Whose vehicle is it?
What, excuse me?
Whose car is it?
It's to my boss.
Your boss?
My boss, yeah.
Where's he live? Where's your boss live?
My boss right now is staying in Maryland, but he lives in Texas.
Okay.
In Houston, Texas.
Have you got the proof of insurance?
Yeah, I don't know where it's put at my boss. Let me call.
So where are you guys coming from right now? Where are you coming from?
From St. Louis. So I work in St. Louis. So right now, finish. That place finished. So I go back to the house in Maryland. Next week, I go maybe to Nashville, the other project.
I thought you was going to Missouri.
The next project, I told you, the next project next week is everybody going to Nashville. The next project, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
What do y'all do?
Huh?
What kind of work is it?
It's construction, like remoderation, painting, drywall, everything like that.
Does anybody else have a driver's license?
Driver license?
Yeah.
No,
Nobody?
Only me, so he's there for real.
Can you find your insurance?
Si pueden buscar la insurance. You say?
Your insurance, can you find it?
I call my boss because I don't know where put the car.
Okay. I'm gonna go back here and run your license and stuff real quick, okay? I'll be right back. How dark are your windows?
Huh?
How dark's the back windows?
Window?
Stand by. How dark are they?
The color.
Yeah.
From Texas is good.
How many rows have you got in here? 4?
Where?
4 seats? 4 rows of seats?
Yeah, it's three seats. Yeah, with him. Yeah.
Did y'all put an extra one in?
Huh?
Did y'all put another one in?
No.
It come like this?
This is the truck.
I've never seen one with that many seats in it.
What you say? It's my boss.
I said I've never seen one with that many seats
Oh,
in
really?
it. Yeah. That's why I was asking if you'd put an extra one in.
No, it's the same. Like this.
Okay.
You know what you got, right? You know what you got here, right? He's hauling these people for money, is what he's doing. But sometimes they commingle dope.
No. But
He,
squad at the back.
there's 8 people in there.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that. They put an extra row of seats in there.
Yeah. So he's getting paid to haul these people, probably to Maryland, I would say, if I had my guess.
He said
Let's break down the laws that might apply in this situation, starting first with what's clear, and we'll work our way towards what could raise the stakes dramatically. First, let's start with driving with a suspended license. Under the Maryland Transportation Code, section 16-303H, driving while your license is suspended is a misdemeanor. The penalty is up to 1 year in jail, a fine of up to $1,000. Now, that's per offense, meaning that each stop is its own new charge. The driver plainly said, the problem with my license right now is it's suspended. Number 2, unauthorized use of a vehicle not registered in his name. Maryland Transportation Code, section 13-409, and this is also found under 17-107. Someone who drives someone else's car without proper documentation or proof of insurance can lead to citations, especially when the owner's living in another state like Texas isn't present. When the officer asks about insurance, the driver can't produce any documentation, but instead he calls his boss. Failure to show proof of insurance carries a $1,000 penalty, and it adds points against your driver's license in Maryland. Now, that's if it wasn't already suspended. Let's move on to number 3. Transporting persons for compensation without a permit. Maryland Transportation Code, section 11-151 and 13-923. If this driver is transporting workers, even co-workers or friends, for money, and the vehicle was modified to carry more people, this could trigger Maryland's regulations for hire carriers. Operating a vehicle for compensation without registration as a passenger carrier can result in civil penalties and impoundment of the vehicle. All right, now moving into what we really think is going on here. Number 4, human smuggling. This is a federal offense. This is found under 8 U.S.C. section 1324, A1A. It's a federal felony to knowingly transport or harbor undocumented immigrants, especially for financial gain. The penalties under this statute, up to 10 years in prison per count, and more if it involves risk to human life. Now, when we say per count, obviously that means per person in that vehicle. Each of those is separate counts. We don't know the immigration status of these passengers, but the officer's suspicions and the driver's vague answers raise serious concern. I wish we had the rest of the video here. But when the 2 officers are talking, he says he's hauling these people for money. Number 5, tampering with vehicle safety, modified seating. Maryland Code, section 22-412.4. Altering a vehicle's seating configuration, especially to transport more people than intended, can violate safety regulations and lead to more tickets and potential vehicle impoundment. Now, let's talk about logistical plausibility. Because when you're building a case, you don't just look at what's said, you test whether the story makes sense. The driver mentions St. Louis, Missouri. Then he says he's heading back to Maryland. Then reference the next project in Niceville, which might mean Florida, or it could be Nashville, Tennessee, another long haul way. Here's the problem. St. Louis to Baltimore, that's 12 and a half hours by car. Nashville to Baltimore is nearly 12 hours also. Add in 7 passengers, a suspended license, no other legal drivers. It becomes unreasonable and unsafe and irresponsible. In legal terms, this kind of inconsistency can help establish probable cause for further investigation, and in court, it might undermine the defense's credibility completely. All right, so here, even without immigration status confirmation, this stop could support multiple charges under Maryland law. That brings us cleanly into our next layer of this case. What level of evidence do the officers have? Let's explore the 6 evidentiary standards used in the legal system. Now, we will deal with these from the lowest level of suspicion to the highest level required for conviction. And we'll try to tie each one to the facts from this stop. First, mere suspicion. This is a hunch with nothing concrete. It's just that gut feeling we always talk about. You might notice something feels off, but you don't have facts just yet. In this case, the officer likely had mere suspicion when he first noticed that the vehicle was loaded with people. Number 2, reasonable suspicion. This means the officer can point to specific facts that criminal activity might be happening, or you might hear the legal term, criminal activity is afoot. It's enough to stop and briefly detain someone for a short investigation to figure out that no criminal activity is happening. Here, the driver admitted to having a suspended license. That alone gives reasonable suspicion to investigate further. Number 3, probable cause. Now we're talking about enough fact and circumstances to justify an arrest or a search. This is the level required to go and request a warrant. Here we've got a suspended license, no valid insurance, a vehicle that's packed beyond its standard seating capacity, inconsistent travel details, and at the end we have the secondary officer stating he's hauling these people for money. Those facts together can establish probable cause, especially if officers believe a crime is actively occurring. Number 4, preponderance of the evidence. Now this is used mostly in civil cases. This means something is more likely than not. If a civil case were brought over vehicle modifications or lack of insurance, the evidence here likely meets this threshold. Number 5, clear and convincing evidence. This is a higher civil standard. It's often used in cases like immigration cases or other administrative hearings. It means the truth of the claim is highly probable. It usually takes about 75% of the evidence to prove your claim in these types of cases. If the government wanted to revoke a work visa, for instance, they might need to show clear and convincing evidence that the individual violated the terms of entry or employment. Many times, one of the violations is criminal activity. Number 6, beyond a reasonable doubt. This is the gold standard, the level needed for every criminal conviction in the United States. To convict this driver of human smuggling, the prosecutors would need to prove he knowingly transported people illegally and for financial gain, and they must do so beyond any reasonable doubt. That's a very high bar. And to give a bit more context, this means that you must convince a jury there is no other logical alternative besides the guilt of the defendant. So, a high bar. But if additional evidence surfaces, like payment records or witness statements, the government could reach that high bar. Let's step into the jury box. You've been selected for this trial and the evidence is on the table. What are the first big questions on your mind? Number 1, why were there 8 people in this vehicle? You've heard the officer say the seating looks modified. You've seen the confusion in the driver's story. As a juror, do you believe this was a construction crew just carpooling? Or does it seem more likely these individuals were being transported for compensation? Number 2, the license was suspended. There's no dispute here. The driver admits it on camera. Does that affect his credibility in your eyes? Would you trust someone who's already driving illegally to follow other rules of the road or the law? Number 3, nobody else had a license. Think about that. 8 passengers. No one else is eligible to legally drive. Would that raise a red flag for you? Or could this just be a coincidence on a long-haul job site run? Number 4, the vehicle belongs to a boss in Texas. The driver doesn't know where the insurance is. The vehicle is registered to someone in another state. The explanation? Call the boss. Would you expect a legitimate employer to give a suspended driver a vehicle full of workers across state lines? Or does it sound more like someone's trying to avoid responsibility? Sometimes as jurors, and just humans in general, we get that little feeling, intuition. You know what I'm talking about. It might be something you see, it might be the tone of voice someone's using, and it just sets that spidey sense off. And you quickly say, it doesn't add up. When you watch this video, do you feel that? When you hear about what's going on, it's a bunch of people in the car. If he had the head camera versus the chest kind, we would have saw when he looked in the vehicle and looked back there, and he saw extra rows of seats back there. 8 people in a van that probably carries, what, 2 on each row? That's 4 rows, that thing. Where'd your instincts kick in on this video? How would that influence your deliberation? Weighing the facts as a juror would be your job, but so is evaluating the motive, opportunity, and using your common sense. So, what did we learn today from this stop? A suspended license, 8 people packed in, a modified vehicle, a boss no one can find, and a story with more twists than the job site blueprint. This could have been a simple ticket, but when the puzzle pieces started stacking, it more resembled a mobile operation than some morning commute. That's the power of legal analysis. You don't just look at what someone says, you look at how it fits with the facts. You compare tone, timeline, truth, and sometimes you just follow the instinct that tells you this isn't right. Now, it's your turn. Do you think this was just a work crew trying to make a living? Or is this a case of immigration-related transport flying just under the radar? Or trying to, at least. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was there enough for arrest here from what you saw? I wish we had the whole video. If this went to trial, guilty or not guilty. And don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Remember, this is Advocacy Alchemy, and I am Professor Ross. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Stay safe out there.